Hi there! The trees are quick and easy to craft and look good enough for me to make this video. I made the trees for this floaty island thing. But let's begin. First, you will need some cardstock and a pair of scissors. To make the tree trunk, I cut a large piece that tapers towards the end. I have been eating oats again. Okay, observe. I rolled the cardstock like this. Then I started twisting it. When we are done, this will definitely look like a tree. Let's cut away the extra. Rewind and open the roll. Then take some PVA glue and get messy. I applied lots of glue on the inside and a bit on the outside, but however we do this, it will still get messy. The gluey mess actually has a purpose. I'll explain it later. As you can see, I rolled the tree trunk again, and this time I twisted it even more. The excessive amount of glue makes it soggy and easier to shape. Totally intended. Okay, that's done. Let's make a smaller one. Wait, this is not a knife. Well, just remember to clean your sword if you get white stuff on it. Here is the smaller piece. Let's just add some glue and roll it into shape. There we go. Alright, the tree trunks have dried and they seem solid and durable. Because I know we are all lazy, I will make the most low effort base, so the trees can stand. Well, it's not even a base. I start by cutting the bottom of the trunks so that they can stand. Then I continued by not making the base. Sorry, we'll get there soon. I'm making the branches first. I cut smaller cardstock pieces for the branches, and as usual, I applied lots of glue. I started twisting the pieces into shape of a branch. Here it's okay if you can't get it round. A helix-like shape might look nice when we paint it. For every branch I left a bit of cardstock untwisted. This was used to attach it to the trunk, and it's okay if your fingers get covered in glue. You will accidentally create more textures on the tree. Here is a bigger branch. At times, I actually just put the glue directly on my fingers and then started working on the cardstock piece. When the cardstock is all soggy from the glue, it's easy to fit it on the trunk. I think the little one is starting to look like something. Oh yes, thank you my Patreon supporters. You can also get your name on the knife by giving me money. Sounds fair, right? Okay, never mind that. Just a few more branches and we're done with this step. When the glue has dried a bit, it's easy to bend the branches into a better shape. And if you want to take these trees to the next level, you can add smaller branches on the big ones. It's your choice. One more branch and the large tree is also done. Great. Go to the kitchen and steal some sponges. I first ripped off the rough layer. Be careful, I might rip you off. Then I made some irregular roundish pieces. First some larger ones. And yeah, the sponge will be used as flocking on the tree. I just assumed you can read, so I forgot to mention it. I made many sponge pieces, small and large. Then find your mom's Tupperware and toss them in. Add your green color of choice, and then massage the paint into the sponge. Under no circumstances should you wear gloves. The green paint makes sure that you will wash your hands at least once today. Good for you. There we have the green flocking. I'll just wait for it to dry while I go back to the base of the trees. Make cuts like this, preferably with a sharp knife. I'm trying to make some roots for the base of the trunk. I later swapped to a utility knife, so I won't kill myself. Alright, there we go. Now we just bend the roots up. This will create a wider base. I also pressed it down on a flat surface. Now it seems good. I did the small tree in the same way. I did a sneaky little trick that will punch holes through my terrain. As you can see, I glued a toothpick into the trunk. This is how it will work. A few holes won't bother me. Okay, we have actually come quite far. After a few seconds of fluff, we will start painting. I made a mixture of brown and a bit of black, and started painting. I covered the whole tree with this color. Now I can see some uncovered blue spots, but that's fine. We'll just cover it later with flocking. Once the dark brown had dried, I painted with regular brown. I told you about the messy glue textures in the beginning of this video. Now you can start seeing them. On to the next color. This is a lighter brown, and I dry brushed with gentle strokes of the brush. With this layer done, it already looks alright. Now I'm using a light tan to dry brush some of the details. I'm not sure if this made it better or worse. Well, you gotta try something. I still wanna do something. Perhaps some subtle green areas will look good. I'll just play around with the brush. Yeah. Okay, there we have the trees. Now we just need to figure out how to glue on the flocking. I stuck the trees into a piece of foam. Now it's easier. I started with the bigger pieces and just, glued them on top of the branches or stuck the ends of the branches into the sponge. I do have to admit, the gluing process didn't go as smoothly as it looks. Between the edits I dropped the tree a few times and some of the sponges just kept falling off. That's enough of the big sponges. I'll start gluing in the little bits wherever they seem to fit. At this point I noticed the sponges are a bit too bright. Next time I'll use a darker green. But we're still gonna do some painting, so let's see. Alright, this is looking better than expected. Just a few more pieces and we'll move to the next step. Here I have a yellow-green mixture. I used this paint to dry brush the sponges. Now they aren't just green, nice. A quick tip for you, if you want to make the trees, I would suggest painting the sponges with dark green first, then dry brush them with green and yellow-green. Good luck with that. Alright, it's getting better, but we're not done yet. I still want to work on the trunk. I made a mixture of brown and yellow that I used to color some of the highlights on the tree trunk. Yeah, I think that was the final touch we were looking for. Press like if you agree. Let's see if they work. The idea is just to stick them into terrain. Unless you have made some super fancy terrain, I don't believe anyone will notice a small hole or two. And also, you could paint the holes black, makes it less visible. So there we have the trees, stuck into the diorama I made in the last episode. If you haven't seen it yet, you should. I also stuck in a sword and placed a ladder. What else should we make for this terrain? If you have any good ideas, go ahead and write them in the comments below. I know these trees aren't the most realistic, and you could make better ones using some wire. I'm sure you have seen wire trees before. But the nice thing with this method of making trees is that you only need the basics. Glue and some cardstock. If you want to make dead trees, you just leave out the sponge and you'll be fine. They also seem pretty strong and stable. You can place miniatures on the trees. And if you happen to have some flatter pieces of sponge, you can place normal minis on top. Here you can see some of the miniatures I have crafted. How can you learn to make simple terrain and to craft custom miniatures just like these? First, subscribe to Bard's Craft and then you can find all the tutorials in these playlists I've made just for you. Choose terrain or miniatures. Making these videos is work. If you appreciate what I'm doing, you can support me on Patreon. So check out my Patreon and get yourself stuff you really don't need. Before we end this episode, I would like to thank a fellow nerd crafter for giving me the inspiration for the trees. He made a cool tree from Game of Thrones. I'll put a link to Frankie the Crafter's channel in the descriptions below. I hope you enjoyed the trees. Goodbye and happy crafting.